1.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Councilman Britt Moore here at City Hall with Councilwoman Monica Peters and Councilman Michael Holmes and Councilman Tim Andrew calling to order our finance meeting for Thursday, May the 2nd, 2024. We have our agendas in front of us and we will start. We've come back from what is our traditional, I guess you call it biannual, little bit of a break. At least it feels that way. Not that no work stops, but the cohesiveness gets a little different during furniture market for some of us. And so we're back, and looks like we're going to hear from Robbie Stone on our first several items, and he's our Public Service Director. And we'll start with item 2024-119.
Thank you, council members. The first item here is to hold a public hearing and consider an ordinance amending and restating the solid waste franchise of Waste Industries High Point LLC. This will be the first reading of the proposed ordinance, and the second reading will be held at our next council meeting on May the 20th. The solid waste franchise agreement was issued to MRR of High Point back in December of 2001. This is for a construction and demolition debris recycling facility. That over time, that facility has changed ownership, and then there's also been a lot of changes within the construction industry as well. When this was originally set up, a certain percentage of that debris that was brought in was to be recycled, and then they had some limits on the maximum amount of waste that could be disposed of. Throughout the years, contractors have become more in tune with those recyclables, and they're pulling those out themselves and taking them and selling them. So there's very little material to be recycled, and then they're also having an increase in their overall tonnage. So this agreement or this ordinance is basically looking to make some adjustments so that they can continue to operate with different parameters. So they'll have an increased tonnages, but then they will recycle as the environment or economies change and materials are available for recycling. There's 5 items here it's listed that reflect this agreement, reflect throughout this agreement. One of them is increasing those tonnage up to 700 tons per day. They do have a maximum tonnage for or cubic yards that would be placed within the facility. Number 3 there talks about compensating the city at a rate of 40 cents per ton for waste that's brought in from surrounding counties. And then we have the life of the landfill facility of 30 years from the original date, or at least 10 years from this amendment. And then their promise to endeavor to reclaim the materials that are recyclable throughout the site. This budget impact, there's nothing that's anticipated, and following the public hearing, which is what has been advertised or will be advertised for 30 days within the High Point Enterprise. The City Council is requested to approve the adoption of this ordinance amending and restating the solid waste franchise of Waste Industries High Point LLC and authorize the appropriate city official to execute all necessary documents. And again, we will have we'll bring this back for a second reading or a second presentation at the May 20th council.
Okay. Well, we will take note of that and look for the full report at our regular council meeting.
Okay.
Our next item is 2024-148.
So this is to hire a contractor to dredge and dewater the contents of the Ward Water Treatment Plant Southern Alum Sludge Lagoon, sorry. The material will be removed by the contractor. We're estimating a quantity of about 1,400 dry tons to be removed. Aluminum sulfate is used at our water treatment plant for coagulation and part of the treatment process. And so as this material settles out, it's deposited into our lagoon there. We did have a total of 5 bids that were received when we bid this out. The lowest bidder was deemed non-responsive. So the next lowest responsive bidder was American Process Group, and funds are available for this current work, and Public Services is recommending awarding this contract to American Process Group in the amount of $885,773.
Comments or questions? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to approve item 2024-148.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Next item, 2024-149.
This is to award a task order with Black and Veatch to aid the city within Phase 2 of the implementation plan to achieve the compliance with the federal lead and copper rule revisions. The city has a master agreement for professional services with Black and Veatch. Starting back in December of 2020, the US EPA finalized their first major update of the lead and copper rule. And so there's been a series of updates since that time. Our latest updates talks about we have to meet compliance by October 16th of 2024, followed by additional compliance requirements that are expected to go into effect in January of 2028. So this phase of the project, or the scope of the project here, is a 10-month schedule which intends to utilize field investigations to calibrate predictive modeling. They're also, with this predictive modeling, we're going to finalize the service line inventory, perform a corrosion control evaluation, and prepare standard operating protocols for the public education and outreach materials for this actual work here. There's no budget impacts, the budget is currently available for this project, and Public Services recommends approval and asks for the council to award this task order to Black and Veatch in the amount of $576,065.
You know, Robbie, when I come to these meetings, and all of us do, it's the jargon and the presentation that can kind of get kind of regular on certain things. But if for somebody that may be listening, or for the public, this comes down from the EPA.
That's correct.
As a pass-through, and I think it should be reminded when people see this. And just for the record, and anybody that may be listening, what would it look like if we did not meet this compliance?
If we did not meet it, I'm sure there would be some major fines. I don't know that we have exact documentation or exact numbers on that at this time. But if we didn't meet it, we could, have a chance of losing our ability to purvey water, to be a water purveyor to our customers, and so they could potentially take over the system and maintain it from there.
Thank you for that reminder. Anything else? I'll make a motion to approve item 2024-149.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Next item for Robbie is item 2024-150.
All right, so you've heard bits and pieces of this one before, but this is the City of High Point's, our Public Service Department have been approved for funding assistance through ARPA funding. This is for the West Green Drive stormwater infrastructure improvements. This approval for this grant requires the city to approve a resolution designating the applicant's agent for signatory authority and submit for funding offer and acceptance. So this is, you've heard this, similar parts of this in the past. This is looking at West Green Drive, about a 3/4 mile stretch to make some stormwater improvements along that. This is just some additional paperwork that has come to us for bringing to council for approval that we can sign that, accepting that funding, for signing the funding offer and acceptance along with the resolution for that. There are no budget impacts anticipated with this resolution, and Public Services Department recommends adopting this resolution for the designation of the applicant's agent and approval for the funding offer acceptance of the grant award, and authorize the appropriate city official to execute all the documents.
Comments or questions? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to approve item 2024-150.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Next item in sequence is 2024-151.
This is to purchase a diesel generator and automatic transfer switch that will be installed at our Oak Hollow raw water pump station for backup emergency power. Oak Hollow raw water pump station has historically been used as a backup source for our raw water. I think we discussed this in the past, where that is backup there. But with upcoming dam replacement, along with the emerging contaminants, and being able to switch over Oak Hollow to Oak Hollow, this is a necessary improvement. The current system that's there, that we do not have a backup generator, and we want to make sure that we have that redundancy backup when we do switch over here. This CAT generator and the automatic transfer switch have about a 67-week lead time, and will be installed as part of a future construction project. The funds for this project are currently available in this budget, and we are requesting approval to purchase this diesel generator and automatic transfer switch, which will competitively bid through the competitive bid from Carolina CAT through the Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Contract for an amount of $1,086,710.
You brought up the switching over of the water situation with our pending dam replacement coming up. Can you or staff update us on where we are and the timeline of that?
Yes, for the dam, we're still in phase 1 of the design, though it'll be followed by phase 2. We probably have, I'm going to say probably 3 more months of phase 1 design, and then we'll negotiate the scope for phase 2 and bring that back to you for approval. And I'm anticipating that phase 2 is probably going to take at least another year for design. So I think timing, we're going to work out pretty close here, pretty good on the timing for that switchover.
Okay. Anything else? I'll make a motion to approve item 2024-151.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Next item is 2024-152.
This is to approve a task order with Sturgill Engineering for professional engineering services for the installation of the new generator system that we just talked about here at Oak Hollow Raw Water Pump Station. The city has a master agreement for professional services with Sturgill Engineering. As part of this project, the generator installation project, Sturgill Engineering will perform design of the backup emergency power system along with bidding. These funds are available for this project in our current budget, and Public Services recommends council to approve this task order for professional engineering services to Sturgill Engineering in the amount of $107,900.
Anything? I'll make a motion for approval of item 2024-152.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Next item, number 7 on your list today, Robbie.
Yes, sir.
You almost hit double digits. Item 2024-153.
This is to purchase 2 fine bar screens and washer compactors that will replace the existing mechanical screens and washer compactors at our East Side Wastewater Treatment Plant. This plant has 3 mechanical bar screens currently that are part of the influent portion of the plant. These bar screens are basically mechanical screens or filters that help to pull out some of the larger objects that come to us in our waste stream. The replacement of the mechanical bar screen number 2 was put out for bid and approved by council on May 15th of 2023. 2 bids were received at that time. The lowest bidder was JWC Environmental with a monster fine screen and wash press. Public Services is requesting a sole source purchase of 2 additional monster fine screens and wash presses to standardize our bar screens at this facility and the washer compactor as well. The quote from JWC for this current item here is 2.8% more than the bar screens were back in May of 2023. We do have funds currently available for this project. Public Services is recommending that JWC Environmental be approved as a sole source vendor for the purchase of 2 fine bar screens and washer compactors at our Eastside Wastewater Treatment Plant in the amount of $522,000.
Questions or comments? And I'll make a motion to approve this item 2024-153.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Robbie. That looks a lot like that. Don't need to sign. Hello, Tyler. We are going
Good
to
afternoon.
hear our next few items from our Electric Utilities Director, Tyler Barrier, and we'll begin with item 2024-154.
Good afternoon, Finance Committee. The first item that I have is some pole line hardware and wire that we'll be purchasing for a project that you all are already aware of. The project's in our electric capital plan for a transmission line to be constructed between Deep River Substation and Penny Substation. It's about 2.4 miles of line, and you all approved the purchase of the poles back in January. This is basically hardware, everything else that goes with that, from insulators to wire, all the way down to ground rods and nuts and bolts. If you looked at the last page, there's about 50,000 feet of wire. This is our transmission wire. I had a piece, so I thought you all knew one. You know, like one too.
Yeah, buddy. Better than a picture.
That's right. So, as part of that purchase with all the material, that's the largest part is the wire and insulators, but just material for that project. Our warehouse division bid this out and got the items through Sourcewell, which is a government contract, for the total of $362,186.01.
Any comments or questions on this item? Hearing none, I'll make,
Yeah, sure.
Can I have it?
Absolutely.
I'll make a motion to approve item 2024-154.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Next item is 2024-162.
This is a change order for our contract labor and equipment with Pike Electric. The electric department uses contract labor and equipment. We utilize this contract with Pike to supplement our forces. So the intent behind the contract is that we can bring in more staff or dial it back as our workload does. Due to the increased labor costs, their costs went up about 9% in 2022, and that was post when the contract was started, along with some projects that have come up, things at HPU. We've had to rent a lot of the equipment from them. We had a large, our transmission bucket, which is what's listed here as our 100-foot bucket, has been down for the better part of several months. We had to rent a bucket from them because we have to have it. We only have one in case we have a transmission issue. So there are some unforeseen equipment failures and projects that we came up with. So this change order would amend that contract so that we can encumber the money and finish it out, which the term is up October 2025.
I'd just like to note, we've heard a couple times, and in the details of some of the stuff we read in here that y'all may or may not read, inflation and unforeseen circumstances, they continue to be a thorn in all of our sides. I don't have to tell you that when you go to the convenience store or the grocery store or whatever, but it's affecting every department we have. If there's nothing else, I'll make a motion to approve item 2024-162.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes.
Thank you.
Tyler.
Thank
And just
you.
one thing for rules and to keep unison up here with my peers, and when you bring things for show and tell, please bring one for each.
All right,
amendment.
4 next time.
Yeah, thank you.
Will do.
Thank you. Next item, we're here from our police chief, Curtis Cheeks, and his item is 2024-155.
Good afternoon. We only have one item. I feel like I'm underachieving. But we're seeking permission for approval of a public hearing to determine how we spend allocated funds through the JAG grant. It's a grant we apply for every year with Guilford County and GPD. We've previously identified those funds to be used to offset the cost of our body-worn camera and in-car fleet program, which we are in the last year of that lease agreement. So it doesn't pay the grand total, but it offsets those costs some. We're asking for that public hearing to be conducted on May 20th.
Okay. Well, we will certainly make note of that, and we will have that established and look forward to the presentation.
Right, thank you.
Chief, before you leave, got something I'm going to say. I don't know if it's the right place to say it to me anytime, but I see the badge you're wearing there. It's been a tough couple of weeks with some things going on locally and also across our state and our nation currently. We appreciate you. We appreciate every man and woman that puts on a uniform. And we send our condolences out to those that were lost and the brotherhood that I know y'all keep. We witnessed it in Greensboro. We'll witness it again in Charlotte. And we got you back. Best we can. We got
Greatly
you back.
appreciate it.
Here, here.
Thank you.
Next item is 2024-161.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. This is for the purchase of updated digital rate boards and to replace our outdated rate and car count signage at our 3 parking decks. Digital boards from A-Lot Media provide digital dynamic rates, car counts in real time, digital messaging information, and digital and static advertising. These boards have multiple uses but are specifically designed for adding value to parking facilities. The product offers customization and the ability to add an additional revenue stream with advertising that would be a major asset to our parking facilities. The rate boards will be installed at all 3 City of High Point decks at a total cost of $51,735. No other boards, no other vendor offers the ability to combine the car count information, the rate information with messaging and/or advertising in one digital board. Advertising can be displayed in a static image or as a video. These units can play videos from several advertisers in sequence, which only increases revenue potential. We did receive 3 quotes, one from A-Lot Media, one from Daktronics, and one from Designa. And A-Lot Media was the only one that would meet the needs that we were looking for. The funding for this is available in our 2023-24 budget. Staff recommends approval of purchase of digital rate boards from A-Lot Media for 3 city-owned parking decks and to allow appropriate city staff or officials to execute all necessary documents. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Hearing none, I'll make a motion to approve item 2024-161.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes.
Thank you.
And I failed to mention for the public listening that you're hearing from Greg Venable, our Transportation Director. So
Thank
thank
you.
you, Greg. We'll hear the next item from you, and that's 2024-157.
Sure. This is to consider a resolution authorizing a grant agreement with the North Carolina Department of Transportation to provide funding for the FY 2024 Furniture Market Transportation Services. The North Carolina Department of Transportation Public Transportation Division annually provides financial assistance for transportation services during each of the biannual furniture markets. The grant agreement provides $1,700,000 in funding to assist with transportation services for the October 2023 market and the April 2024 market. This item is a pass-through item and has a neutral impact on the city's FY24 budget. Staff recommends the City Council to approve the grant agreement with NCDOT and authorize appropriate city staff or officials to execute all necessary documents. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
I think we're pretty familiar with that, with the market just passing through.
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion to approve item 2024-157.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Next, we will hear from Bobby Fitzjohn, our Financial Service Director. His first item is 2024-159. Hello, Bobby.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Finance Committee. The first item tonight, or today, is the authorization to write off delinquent utility and miscellaneous accounts receivable. The city has a practice of, once a debt has become uncollectible after 3 years, to come to council and authorize the write-off. It basically just removes it from our balance sheet. However, at the end of last year, these were already adjusted into our uncollectible accounts. This just gives us the authority to remove it completely. The city continues to try to collect whatever they can in accordance with the law after this point. This is just a financial statement correction that we do. I do want to point out the city's collected almost $5.2 million from the North Carolina Debt Set-Off Program. That's when we withhold from tax returns and other state payments. So that's been a very good program to us on collecting some of these delinquent accounts. And tools like that are how we'll continue to try to collect these in the future. The attachment shows kind of over time how that collection rate has changed. It stayed pretty consistent as the number of billings have grown, but that might be why you see that the charge-off amount seems a lot larger than it might have been in prior years. As far as a percentage of the total billings, it's still pretty consistent. I think the last year, the customer service division had a 99.63% collection rate, which is fantastic. So.
That's very good. Comments or questions further? Make a motion to approve item 2024-159.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Next item, 2024-165.
Thank you, sir. This item is requesting authorization and approval for master agreements for professional services for our mechanical and electrical service firms. It's primarily used by public services, but it's very similar to the other master on-call or master agreements that we've discussed in the past around engineering architecture. It facilitates a smoother project pace if we can line these contracts and handle almost a pre-qualification ahead of time. Any contract that we attempt to enter into in excess of $90,000 or any task order in excess of $90,000, we'll still have to bring to council for approval. So this just kind of sets that list for the next 5 years.
I'll make a motion, hearing no comment, of item number 2024-165.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby. Next, we'll hear from Stephen Howerlick, our Budget Performance Director. You know, after all these years, I'm doing a little better with that last name.
Yes, sir.
I'm getting there. So, item 2024-158.
Yes, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon to you and members of the Finance Committee. This item is requesting an appropriation of funds from Guilford County for the acquisition of land at the former Perco site. A little bit history. In fiscal year 2021-2022, the Guilford County Board of Commissioners appropriated $350,000 per year to be used as an economic assistance grant in the defined catalyst area. One caveat was the funds could not be used for debt service on the stadium. In the first year, FY 21-22, the funds were utilized for improvements on the streetscape at the Elm Street Plaza and Appling Way. Last year, the funds were allocated to assist in the land acquisition costs at the former Perco site at 208 Lindsay Street. However, we never did a budget ordinance amendment to officially set up the budget for these funds. So that's what you have before you. So the proposed ordinance requests to allocate last year's total of $350,000 for this, as well as $145,000 from the current year's appropriation. The remaining for the current year, you'll see in the next item that the library is bringing forward. And so the total amount we're asking to appropriate is $495,000, and the Budget Evaluation Department recommends approval. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Hearing no questions, I'll make a motion to approve item 2024-158. There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Next item is 2024-166, and we're going to hear from our Library Director, Mary Sizemore.
Good afternoon, council members. The purpose of this is to approve change order number 1 in the amount of $205,000 to PDC Incorporated for the library sensory garden and library entrance enhancements projects. The original contract to PDC was awarded in December of 2023 in the amount of $759,758, and it was awarded in December. We began construction on the 2 projects this past March. Additional funds are needed for some unexpected infrastructure items, mostly related to the installation of the major water feature in the sensory garden. There are a few other items that are related to irrigation, to a live wall that will be in the garden, some additional security features that we've determined are needed, creation of a construction entrance on Sunset Avenue, and windscreens for the entrance plaza project. The requested $205,000 does include $31,446 in contingency. The budget impact, alluding to what Mr. Haverluck just said, There is included a capital project ordinance amendment appropriating the $205,000 from the $350,000 annual appropriation from Guilford County government for the economic assistance to support new development in the Catalyst influence area, and the library does fall within that area. So the Library Department recommends that council approve a change order number 1 to increase PDC contract in the amount of $205,000 and to approve the capital project ordinance.
What's the schedule on this, about getting it finished? We're getting closer.
We're getting closer. The front part is going very well, very quickly. Probably that will be open. It may not be completely finished, but we'll be able to open it maybe late June, July. The sensory garden is a little more complicated. That should be September.
Yeah, I was just over by the library on this past weekend, and I was really heartened to see the activity there with the farmers market
Yeah.
and the construction of the sensory garden. And I'm really proud of how active our library seems to be in our community. It's really you never think of the library as kind of the hotbed of activity in the community, but ours seem to be a connecting point for our people. So I'm really happy to see it.
Oh, well, good. It is. It's a very lively place.
Yeah.
If there's no other comments or questions, then I'll make a motion to approve item 2024-166.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes.
Thank you very
Mary.
much.
And as Mary returns to her seat, I'll remind all of you, and especially you that may be listening, that if you haven't been down to our farmers market on a Saturday morning, it is very active, and I know we have a really nice trad farmers market, but I'll tell you on a smaller scale, this one will match up to it. So support your local farmers market and library while you're down there. Our next and final item, we'll hear from Greg Ferguson, our Deputy City Manager. It's item 2024-160.
Thank you. This is the demolition and cleanup of 208 North Lindsay Street. This is property that's currently owned by the city. The city council has previously awarded construction of a parking facility on this same lot. This is demolition and cleanup of both the asbestos and some chemicals that were located inside the building, barrels of oil, and a fuel tank with fuel in it. The state had to approve the contract and the cleanup, so that there was a little bit of a delay, and then with the market being in town, we missed the last finance cycle. The work is complete. Digger Enterprises of High Point completed it, and they had the lowest responsive quote. So we recommend approval.
Hearing no comments or questions, I'm going to make a motion to approve item 2024-160.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Do any of the finance members have any public service announcements or anything that they would like to share? Anything? We do have our, if I wait till Monday, it'll be too late, but we do have Social Saturday this weekend downtown, and the Rockers are in the midst of a homestand and the Kentucky Derby, and so a lot going on.
High Point University's graduation.
Yep, and High Point University graduation, and I know you'll be very happy with that.
Yep.
But if there's nothing else that anybody has to say, then we're going to adjourn the meeting. Thank you.